Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I hope you are doing well. This week's Parsha is Chayei Sara, the life of Sara. But interestingly enough, we don't hear that much about Sara in this Parsha. So why is it called Chayei Sara? Well, as most Parshiot are, it's named after the first most important words. So the Parsha says, Vayhi Chayei Sara, and the life of Sara was Mea Shana ve'esrim Shana ve'sheva shanim shnei Chayei Sara. The life of Sarah was 100 years, the life of Sarah was 20 years, and the life of Sarah was 7 years. Why is the Torah saying 100 years, 20 years, and 7 years? Why did it say Sarah died at age 127? Rashi, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzhaki, a Torah commentator, says that this is because each year of Sarah's life was equally good. How can this be true? Sarah's life was pretty tough. The first thing is that she didn't have a child. She couldn't have a child until she was 90. Then that child, just recently in time, the timeline of the Torah, was nearly sacrificed without her knowing it. There's a few other stories that are sort of like lost in not as common to know, that Abraham and Sarah were taken prisoner in Egypt, and Abraham lied and said that Sarah was his sister, not his wife. Like, there are all these really traumatic things that happened in her life. How can we say that each year of Sarah's life was equally good? And what we learned from this is that it's not that they were objectively equally good. It was that each of the years of her life taught her something or were productive in some way. Helped her to work toward being a better person. I think this is a really beautiful concept, something that I think contributes to my I'm unable to say no to things. Like, if someone says, "Oh, do you want to come to this party in some random neighborhood in Brooklyn?" The answer should usually be no. But I have what I call FOMO of meaningful experiences. I'm so worried that I'm going to miss out on something meaningful or good that I'm like, yes, whatever. I'm so scared to not have a life like Sarah's. I'm so scared that I'm going to have years where I'll be like, oh, this experience, this year was boring. No. You have to take every single opportunity in life you have to seize. And maybe I can learn some balance on that. But this is what I always think about, is that I want to have a life that I can look back and be like, okay, well, this part of it was not great, but then this happened. Like, I just want to have all these experiences to be able to draw from, like the life of Sarah. So again, the parsha is not so much about Sarah, except that it really is, because right after Sarah passes away, obviously Abraham mourns her, and he. So the text says that Sarah died at 127, and Abraham came to eulogize Sarah and bewail her. Then he works out the resting place. She's buried in Ma'arat Machpelah, which is now in modern day Hebron, and where her resting place, where Abraham was also buried. So Abraham works out her burial place. And then immediately after the whole thing, all the cave is worked out, the property is worked out. It says, and Abraham was old, advanced in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham with everything. And then Abraham says, you know what? My son needs to get married. Okay, so how old is Yitzchak here? So if we just learned that Sarah died at age 127 and she had Yitzchak at age 90, that means that Yitzchak is 37 now. 37 sounds like a specific number. It sounds a little familiar, doesn't it? It sounds familiar because that's the age of Isaac at the binding of Isaac, which just happened in last week's Parsha, the Akedat Yitzchak, the binding of Isaac. That means that immediately after the binding of Isaac, that whole ordeal, Sarah passes away. That's important to know. Did the shock, the experience of the binding of Isaac kill Sarah? We don't know, but it's just kind of a crazy thing that happens immediately after. 37 is also like kind of old in biblical years for getting married. I don't know what year they got married, but I feel like in those days, 37 was literally near the end of your life. And so Abraham, immediately he eulogizes Sarah, he mourns for Sarah, and then immediately is like, well, Yitzchak, you're 37. It's time for you to get married. So Abraham sends out his head servant, who we don't learn in the text is named Eliezer, but according to other texts of the Midrashim, we learn that this person is named Eliezer. He says, Eliezer, go out and find a wife for Yitzchak. So that happens, and the servant is like, well, what if the person that I find doesn't want to come back? And Abraham is like, you'll know, she'll be the right person. So the servant asks for a sign. He goes to the city, to Aram Naharam, to the city of Nahor. Let's see what the actual Hebrew is. Aram Naharim. That's what the Hebrew is. Aram Naharim. That's where Eliezer goes. He takes camels. He has the camels lean by the well, and he says to God, "Oh Lord, the God of my master Abraham, please cause to happen to me today and perform kindness to my master Abraham. please will it be that the maiden whom I will say, lower your pitcher and I will drink, she will say, drink, and I will also water your camels, you have designated for your servant Isaac. Please give me a sign. Let it be that the woman who's right for Isaac, because who's this servant to know? He doesn't necessarily know exactly who the right person is for Isaac. Let the person who's exactly right for Isaac, let her offer to not only give me water, but to give water to my camels as well. And so then he had not yet finished speaking. This is beautiful. Now he had not yet finished speaking, and behold, Rivka came out. She was a very comely appearance, and she went down to the fountain, filled up her pitcher, and the servant ran toward her, and he said, please let me have a little sip of your water. And she says, of course, drink, my lord. I will also water your camels until they have finished drinking. So Rivka, she's it. She's the girl. She's the one for Yitzchak, and the prayer has been answered. Okay, so then the love story of Isaac and Rebecca happens, but I want to go back to the part where I talked about this is called Chayei Sara, but it's not really about Sarah, except that it is. Okay, so Abraham has lived a long, long, long life. He could have just said, I'm just going to pack up and just live my life. I've done enough things. He's surely done enough things. But after his life partner dies, Sarah dies, which is a devastating thing. He mourns for her, yes, but immediately he gets up and he starts planning for the future. How? By getting Isaac a wife. That creating for the future is the way to elongate our own lives and to elongate the legacies of those who we love, who have passed away. So this parsha is about Chayei Sarah. It is about the life of Sarah, because Sarah's progeny, Sarah's son Yitzchak, now is going to be married and now is going to have children and continue the line of the Jewish people. So the way to create hope for the future and to make your life meaningful is to not only to have children yourself, but to help others find love and help to populate the earth. I think it's a beautiful concept. So Chayei Sarah, you live, you learn. Every years of our lives should be as valuable and as meaningful as the years of Sarah's were. May we all help to contribute to the continuation of the population of the world. Shabbat Shalom. Thanks so much for listening, and I will hopefully speak to you all next week, God willing.